Just in rounds of drinks.
Yeah, but not even like fully fleshed out, I guess. Usually the conversation gets sidetracked. You know how it is with like creatives? It's like, oh, it turns from like one really like surface level thing into like, well, I think the meaning of life is this.
Well, that's what this is. Yeah. So perfect. We rolling? Cool.
Oh, nice.
We're here with Kuya Mark Salud. Oh, y'all suck. Clap it up. Jesus.
Thank you for having me.
Guys behind the cameras don't want to trying to give a man his flowers. You're fucking around with toys back there. But no, yeah. That, like, honestly, that's why I started this. Because, like, there's mad people that I know that I'm cool with now, especially in dance, that I have no idea. Hey, let's go. Let's get it. No, like, now that I have more dance friends, I have no idea how anyone got started.
Right.
Because, like, I know where I was, and I know how I got started, but, like, nobody that I know now was around then.
I feel that, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, especially you, like, I know you've been in the scene for a minute.
Yeah. AKA, I'm old as shit.
Yeah, you're, like, close to an OG now.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love that energy. That's why I feel like me and maybe like Vinny are the only two people who consistently call you Kuya Mark.
Yeah.
Because I heard him say it once, and I was like, you know what? That's so perfect. Because you just have that like big brother energy.
Oh, thanks. My sister doesn't even call me Kuya.
Oh, so. Damn. Yeah. That's disrespectful. But yeah, no. So like, what? I mean, because I definitely want to talk about dance and like media stuff too. Mm-hmm. But first, dance. Like, what? Where, how, why? How did you know?
I can actually like pinpoint the exact moment that it happened. I was cool. Like a freshman in high school, and at the time, like I didn't really have dance like anywhere in my brain at the time. Like I did taekwondo and I played piano, you know, like classic, like parents push this type of shit on you, but you don't super enjoy it type shit. I can curse, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
And I was a freshman in high school, and my brother at the time was a senior. So this was maybe around November or December. I'm about to date myself, but I think the timeline will help.
Yeah.
But this was in 2003.
Oh, okay.
So my brother hits me up, and he's like, hey, would you want to be down to perform? Like, I don't know the exact words, but some along the lines of, would you be down to dance? And I'm like, what? No. So I was like an immediate no. But I remember after a couple of times, he finally convinced me to at least be a part of their set. And what they did was kind of like a fusion tinikling. I don't know if you've heard of tinikling, but tinikling is those.
We did it with MJ's crutches
yeah, those,
on a boat.
Yeah, I saw that. Those sticks that click, and the difference is instead of doing it to traditional like Filipino folk music, we did it to hip hop.
Nice.
So my brother was like, "All right, just be a clicker for us." And a clicker is just the designated guy that just does this. And then we started rehearsals, and you know, they started playing this fire ass music. And I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to hop in and start learning. And it was pretty much like love at first sight type shit. I was like, damn, I really like to do this. So imagine prepping from, what was it, November all the way till like the end of the year just for one show.
Damn.
And I mean, I thought that was like the dopest thing in the world because it was like on a weekly basis. I would meet with these guys who were like older and way cooler than me. And got to perform, and like that adrenaline rush on stage was fucking insane. And I was like, I need this. So throughout like those 4 years of, you know, high school, I pretty much just went full force into just that team. I didn't really have any knowledge of like dance outside of that. Our Bible was "You got served," and that's pretty much it. Like we literally like copied like phrases and whole moves and shit, like to like put these sets together. And then we just, you know, emulated what we saw on like television. You know, the only ones that like I really like can remember for sure was like Twitch, rest in peace. But like him doing this shit and like hitting, and like I was like, okay, I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that was like my beginning.
Sick.
Per se, yeah.
Do you feel like it like came easy, where you're like, holy shit, like I'm good at this, I should continue? Or like...
So I don't think I really had like a clear understanding of like where I was at, because I was a young kid and it was like my older brother and all the cool people. Like for them, they were kind of just like egging me on, be like, yo, you're so good, man, you should just keep doing this. So in my mind, I was like a pretty self-conscious kid growing up. I was like, I know they're lying, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I think like looking back, pretty sure I was pretty bad for a long time, but at the time it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
We kind of just did it to do it, and I didn't really have any competition or anything like that. It was just straight up that one showcase for like those 3 or 4 years.
And it was just that same sort of like tinkling fusion style?
Pretty much, all the way till the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When did you kind of start to expand your vocabulary?
I would say my freshman year of college. So I went to Rutgers, and I remember the very first kind of like general body meeting for what was the Filipino club at our school, had kind of like performances and stuff. And Rap Dance Troupe, RDT, performed, and I was like, oh, these guys are so fucking cool. Like, I want to be just like them type shit. Yeah. So tried out for the team, made it, and then once rehearsal started, none of the people that were in that performance were there, and I was like, wait, is this the same team?
Oh shit, they were all seniors?
Yeah. So I think they just came back to like perform one last time before like I guess leaving. But yeah, RDT was definitely like my first intro, and then from there it kind of just snowballed.
Yeah.
One of my other family friends who I grew up with, Mikey Esteban, was actually kind of like my gateway into like a lot of the community. So he was the one who told me about RDT. He eventually told me about another team called Fresh. And then he also introduced me to Boogie Zone. So Boogie Zone was kind of like a community class that was held at like a random ballroom every couple of weeks. And yeah, I can strictly remember I was at a family party. I was wearing like fucking dress shoes and like khaki pants. And then he was like, do you guys want to go to Boogie Zone? And I was like, I don't have clothes. And he's like, it's fine, you just go. So we went to a Boogie Zone class, and that was kind of like my first kind of like wake up moment. And I was like, whoa, like this world is actually like pretty big.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so sick. So like when you started rehearsing like with RDT, was it like culture shock? Not culture shock like the team, but like a culture shock of like, whoa, I've never done choreo like this, or like how was it to like start picking up other people's choreo?
To be honest, it was definitely a transition period, but at the time the directors also were very understanding of like where we came from. Like I think at the time there were a ton of us that were freshmen, so I guess their expectations were, you know, appropriate
like a big training ground
for what we were. And the choreo was hard as hell.
Yeah.
But even that first year, I didn't have that semblance of like, damn, I suck, or like, damn, like what can I do to improve? I was just like, oh, I'm just doing the choreo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of wild thinking about it, but I definitely got a sense of like how serious people took it, or at least certain people, as that year went on. I was like, oh, some people actually like live this shit. And that's kind of like the biggest wake-up call I had that first year.
Yeah. That's honestly, that's the biggest thing I kind of like realized coming back into the scene.
Yeah.
Was like seeing like people that like actually like live this, and like this is their life.
Yeah.
Because like it's something that I always loved, and was like more of like not necessarily a hobby, but like a pastime.
Right.
And then coming back after college and seeing like people's careers like start to blossom and stuff.
It's wild, man. Like I can completely relate to that. And like for me especially, like I grew up in the suburbs, so the thought of having like a career in or like adjacent to dance was like so far-fetched.
Yeah.
So the entire time, I want to say even up until my like sophomore junior year, it was still very much like, this is just a hobby. You know, I'm really obsessed with it, but you know, this is a hobby.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like during that sort of like early 2000s into the 2010s,
Yeah.
it was hard to see any other actual dance careers besides like being in in a You Got Served or like a Step Up.
Absolutely.
So it just didn't seem realistic at all. So I want to talk about teaching a lot with you because I feel like you're a person who holds teaching in general,
Right.
to high regard, as well as like teaching choreography specifically or teaching dance. So do you remember like sort of that transition of like realizing like,
Absolutely.
I want to teach some choreo to somebody?
Yeah,
put
for
this
sure.
on other bodies.
So I'll kind of talk about this in twofold because I feel like my journey as a choreographer and then my journey as a teacher were kind of different, but like somewhat intertwined. The choreo thing actually started prior to me joining RDT. So by the time, like you can imagine, like in a high school kind of like group, as those seniors filter out, you know, like the people who are younger step up and start choreographing. So that was kind of my situation. And it was more of just like creating for fun and out of necessity. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, no one
Somebody's gotta do
yeah,
it.
no one else is going to choreo, so I guess I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And again, at the time, I wasn't really overthinking it. I was just like, we just got to put something on stage. And like high key, it would be like, all right, I know this move from this piece, and then I know this move from this piece, and then I'm going to steal this, and then I'm just going to like put it together. I didn't really have a semblance of like, oh, I need to listen to the music type shit. But anyway, I think like the enjoyment of choreo was always there. I don't think there was ever like a moment where I like dreaded it or was scared of it. It was kind of just like, oh, you dance and you choreo, and like I think I just had this perception that like, oh, you just do both. Creating is creating, you know?
It's just part of the process.
Yeah, it's just part of the process. I definitely don't think that way now. But at the time, I thought that's just what it was.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess my, like, full force into, like, having to be a choreographer and also a director, it was also trial by fire. So what happened was we had 3 directors our freshman year of RDT that all decided to leave the next year. And pretty much all of the older people followed suit. So you can imagine we were left, we were entering our sophomore year. It was literally just me and like 5 other kids. And we were like, I don't want to stop. So do you guys want to do this? So that's what it was. Like,
You're either down or you're not.
pretty much.
'Cause
So
it's just us.
exactly. So along with Mikey, who was kind
Hey,
of like
Paco.
our lead, what's up, Paco? Aside from Mikey, who was kind of like our lead guy because he was the most experienced in dance, it was me and 2 other people. One of them was is also named Mark, who doesn't dance anymore, and then the other one kind of handled more of like the logistics. So again, it was trial by fire. We had no semblance of like what choreo was good, how to teach, how to do this. It was just like, all right, let's just try it and see what happens. And I think like over the course of those next couple of years, I really started to realize like, damn, the way we did this didn't work, but this kind of did. So it was kind of more of an organic experience of like what I found, you know, I guess was effective for the dancers that I had. And yeah, I kind of like slowly became more and more cognizant of how I taught because I had that team directorship experience. And then when I started teaching workshops, it was pretty much just a carryover. You know, obviously there's an adjustment. Teaching a pop-up is completely, you know, different than teaching, you know, a room full of like, you know, people that you already know. But yeah, it it's kind of crazy to think back, like, this might be revisionist history, but like I was a really bad choreographer and an objectively bad teacher, but I definitely got better every year, even if I don't, have like the tangible, like, checkpoints of when that really happened.
Yeah, but you feel it.
Yeah, I definitely feel it. And like, I think the biggest change for me in terms of like how I value teaching was in 2016 when I started teaching kids. So I made the decision because at the time I was working full time. I still wanted to be involved in dance and I wanted to, supplement my income and try something new. So I literally just cold called a bunch of studios in my area, be like, hey, I do this. Here's my portfolio, which is literally just like a YouTube playlist of all my choreo from like my team stuff. Yeah, and they're like, "Ooh, I like your choreo. Come in to, do a trial class." Yeah. And that was kind of like the wake-up call. I was like, "Oh my gosh, teaching kids is the highest level of difficulty in terms of teaching, and I think it still is."
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So that first year especially, it really taught me how to be cognizant of how kids are feeling like in the classroom, how engaged they are, if they really want to be there or not. Like, that's a crazy thought, right? Like, you just automatically assume like, oh, you guys are there because
some of them are forced to be there.
Some of them are forced to be there. Not only that, but like in a lot of studios, hip hop is quote unquote the fun style. So a lot of the kids see it as playtime. I learned how to be more disciplinarian. So like understanding how to teach became like at the forefront of what I was doing. Yeah. And the choreo, of course, you want the content to be good, but like it honestly became secondary to like
at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
To like how you're conducting your classroom, showing the right type of respect, but also, being commanding in a space and having them respect you. Yeah. It was definitely a learning process, but it's something that I still hold like really important to this day.
No, I know. Like I've heard you talk about it. I see you talk about it all the time, like online and stuff. Would you say like you developed? I mean, obviously everyone develops their own style. How would you describe your style of teaching?
Oh God, I don't even know, man. I mean, anybody who's been in my classroom knows that like I'm just stupid. So like, I'll start off fairly seriously, and then I'll just like start transitioning into like an accent for no reason. I make weird sounds, but I think the characteristics that like I really find consistent amongst everywhere is I am extremely, I don't know, is verbose the right word?
I don't know, I've never heard that word.
Right? Verbose, I think.
What does that mean?
I think it means when you're just very, I don't want to say articulate, but like you just use a lot of words to try to describe what you're doing or what you're teaching. So
it's like a high economy of words.
I'm so sorry if that's not the right usage of that word, but I talk a lot, and I always start off the class by apologizing to them in advance. But
nice.
Okay, cool. Oh, SATs. All right. But yeah, like I'm extremely, I guess, wordy. Sometimes negatively, but I think it definitely helps people understand like what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm, I guess, fairly technical in terms of what I want and how I want people to listen. And I think the one thing that I emphasize a lot in my class is like the rhythm of the music or what I'm moving to. So I guess that's how I can describe my class. To be honest, I'm not the biggest like motivator. I'm not like, let's go guys, yeah, let's do this. I feel like certain people do respond well to that, but I usually notice, especially in my classes, like I feel like my choreography is typically on the more technical end. So you ever see the meme where it's like just like formulas and numbers churning? Yeah, like I feel like that's how most people are in my class, and they're like fairly quiet.
Trying to calculate.
Exactly. So I don't really, not that I don't care for it, but I don't really require like an extremely loud, learning environment.
Yeah, it doesn't call for that type of energy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
No, that's fair.
I guess that's how like I teach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. And I mean, but that's why like I said, like everyone has their own style, so it's like people should be able to go to certain classes to have
Right.
a more technical experience.
Exactly.
And then go to another class for a more artistic experience and have that.
I will say as a caveat
diversity.
though, and like I always like after a class is over, I think my thought that first comes to mind is always, how did I teach the class? Did I pace it okay? Like, how can I teach it better? And how did the class do? I think those are like the four kind of like most important things. Like solos or whatever, I usually always mess up. So I'm just like, whatever. As long as they got what they needed to get out of class, I'll be satisfied.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is that like, even though I have teaching tendencies, I personally don't think that like style is something that you should apply to your teaching. It should be applied to your movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So more important than teaching styles, I think, is like learning styles, because you might have people in the classroom that can literally just watch you and learn, very visually.
Right.
Other people might require a little bit more, narration in order for them to understand the concept. So I think like being able to like attack both of those fronts and using different, methods of teaching, whether it's counts, singing or,
Sounds.
making the sounds,
Yeah.
using analogies to describe something.
Yeah.
Like I think being able to use everything is like what makes you a good teacher.
Yeah.
But obviously no one's perfect. So
No,
those are
yeah.
like things that I always try to think about.
No, for sure. But that I think well-roundedness is a important part of being a teacher, just because you're dealing with students who are all individuals and have individual needs.
Yeah.
And that's in dance or teaching anything really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like that you made a dichotomy between teaching and being a choreographer.
Oh, is this where we get to talk shit?
There is. There really is. There is. Let's be real. There is.
Absolutely.
So like I'm curious where, I guess through your lens, like where's that separation for you?
I think where's that separation, or like where do you think I
Like-
see myself more
Well, I
gravitated
guess
towards?
what's an example of just choreographing, and what's an example of actually teaching?
I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Like if you're a choreographer and you are owned in to just spitting your choreo out in a classroom, regardless of who's taking your class, regardless of what their level is, regardless of, trying to find like goals for your students to try to attack, then, you might just be a choreographer. You know what I mean? Or like if you're putting choreo onto people's bodies for a specific purpose, like for a performance,
Right.
for something, you're just a choreographer in my eyes.
Right.
Right? Obviously you're teaching, you're doing the act of teaching, but I think like unless you actively think about those things, you're not a teacher. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I think that I think that's a very subjective thing too. Like you can be a teacher, but you might not be a good teacher.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think like bare minimum is like you have to keep those in mind. And like
Yeah.
I don't have specifics, but like there are a lot of like classes that I've taken in the past where I'm just like, whoa, that experience was like the shittiest experience ever, but the choreo was so fucking good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it really depends on the type of person. You know what I mean? Like I can find like the positives in pretty much any classroom because I have danced long enough to know like how to set my own goals, how to like learn best.
Yeah. You know what you're looking for out of the
Exactly,
class. Yeah.
exactly. So, and just being in a room full of dancers just makes me happy anyway. But I know some people require more like, focused guidance on that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So then, like where do you think like the space is for that, for just choreography? Like, is there a proper space where people, well, I guess like, can I not call it class, but like what, like how would you label it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how would you
I don't know.
describe it?
Like, I know a lot of people are kind of like throwing out the words like workshop, session, and like, oh, it's nothing. I'm just like sharing.
Yeah.
And
See, but, like, okay, so like session obviously
Yeah.
has like a certain connotation to it.
Yeah.
You know, you expect more of just like a freestyle environment.
Yeah.
Not a lot of, I guess, teaching going on. And then workshop to me feels like a pop-up. Like, it's only gonna happen.
Right.
You better catch it while
Yeah,
it's gonna
exactly.
happen, because
Yeah.
you're not gonna have many other chances to catch it. It feels like temporary.
Yeah.
Which I guess kind of works, because just teaching choreo
Right.
is kind of temporary. But then, like you said, if it's for something specific, like a performance or something
Yeah.
like that, then that's a different story. But yeah, like, I don't know, is there a proper space where people
don't
just
know,
throw
man.
choreo on people?
I don't think so. And I think that's the beauty in it. Like, to be honest, like, I think, like, having defined words for what each of those things are would be nice. But again, there's a lot of, like, gray area in between. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, is it only considered a class if you learn a technique? Or is it only considered a class if the teacher gives you definitive things to work on at the beginning of class?
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly than having like those individual labels is like for whoever is hosting the thing to just be transparent about what is happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't want to be hearing people saying like, "Oh, this is like a 3-hour intensive," and all you just learn is like 3 pieces, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did you learn?
Yeah.
You know?
Especially, intense, and especially knowing like what you're gonna pay for. For
Exactly.
an intensive, like,
Exactly. Once there's money involved, like,
Yeah.
you can't be fucking around with people's money and their time.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge.
That's where it gets fucked up.
Right.
And I know we've seen like examples of people just taking money.
Yeah. It's wild, yo.
Just getting robbed. No, but yeah, like, that's the thing. It's the trade off. Like, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. There has to be, because there's an audience for everything, right? So there has to be that type of dancer who is just looking to learn choreo and not looking to necessarily expand themselves as a person and as a dancer, and just want to learn sick moves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's what you like,
yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, what I've grown to learn is that like there's space for everything. Like, I think the choreo scene can definitely take a lot of like hints from like the freestyle scene, because the way people learn like styles, it's not like you got to go to a class and have a teacher that's super verbose about like, all right, these are the exact building blocks to be a perfect house dancer. No. You know what I mean? Like, you go to the club, you experience it, you pick up what you want, and then you go from there. You know what I mean? And I think, like, people can take that approach with choreo, too. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not trying to be, an industry dancer, why are you wasting time taking industry workshops? You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe I just want to take these types of classes because they make me feel good. Yeah. That's totally cool too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, know your intention.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
And I think for a lot of people, it takes a long time for them to find it. And of course that could change.
Oh, totally. I struggle with that. Like, even like, especially coming back.
Yeah.
It was like why am I doing am I doing this? What's the
COVID
purpose?
fucked everybody in a good way. Like, it made you really think about like, oh, how do you want dance to exist in this new like life? It was a reset that I think a lot of people needed, including me. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Before we get into the media stuff, damn, I had something. Because you said about how you don't have to necessarily walk into a classroom and like take a master class and like learn a style. You can go out to the club and whatever. That whole thing of like the freestyle community, the choreo community, and that sort of like crossover. I've been noticing it. Like we've been going to Layer Rhythm a lot lately. Have you been to Layer?
I haven't been yet.
You've never been?
Never been yet.
Bro,
I know.
You're next on the list because this one and like a bunch of other people in like the last 2, maybe 3 preludes, Layer Rhythms. I've been like, oh, this is my first time. This is my first. So like I'm starting to see that crossover. And honestly, shout out to Modega for like cultivating that.
I was gonna say, I think Dega is the hub for everything that's going on right now. It's wild. So I think like it's the introductory space and crossover into whatever you want to find in dance. It's fucking beautiful.
Yes, which that's what I'm saying. Like if we have a space that welcomes all of it, then that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, shout out to CJ and Gordon.
Yeah, for real.
Forgot that was camera one. But yeah, no. So okay, so you danced since high school. When did you pick up a camera?
So, I mean, I was always interested in like taking photos and taking videos. For a very, very short, hot minute when I was in college, I was like getting really into video. It was like kind of like during the very, very beginning stages of the DSLR revolution, and didn't have enough money for a 5D. So I bought a Nikon D90. So this camera was the first camera or first DSLR that was APS-C that could shoot HD video. So it was like, it was mind-blowing because, you know, like I had just that, I had a nifty 50, and then just literally shooting my friends, and then I'm like, yo, bro, you look like you're in a movie right now. Like having that flexibility and like kind of just like picking up like how to frame stuff and like how to, you know, expose stuff properly was a shit ton of fun. Yeah. And the only like proof that I have from that is we have this show at Rutgers called China Night, which... Now that I think about it, it was an incredible concept of a show. So just I'll try to keep this brief, but it was a dance, fashion, and mixed media show all in one. So essentially like every coordinator was tasked to put together a 13 to 15 minute set, right? And you could tell a story, it could just be vibey, it could be whatever the fuck you wanted, but it had to include a runway. So you styled your pieces. You had kind of like choreo breaks where people would dance, and then you would play like short clips of film.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it was like pretty much like the entire like spring semester of getting ready for that show.
Oh shit.
So me and my other, you know, co-coordinator, we made like short films. We were using the camera and shit. So that's the only like living proof. I'm sure it's somewhere like in the YouTubes, but. Yeah. To be honest, after that, I kind of just stopped because my camera got stolen. Oh, shit. Yeah, I was in New Brunswick. My shit got broken into, and they stole my camera, my lens, I think my tripod. But for some reason, they left my kicks. And I just remember distinctly, I was like, damn, yo, are my kicks that ugly that they didn't want to get my kicks? No, they weren't. I'm not a kicks guy, so they were probably just like, I'll leave that there. So after that, I kind of just like forgot about it for a hot minute. I was so tunnel visioned into dance anyway. And then you fast forward a couple of years in 2017. Well, the year prior, we started Creative Exchange. So Creative Exchange. Tell me about that. So Creative Exchange, co-founded by Lex Bolasé and I. We were looking for like low-cost alternatives for the college kids that we danced around. So Rutgers is like our home base. So, you know, we didn't really have a space, but we knew the places at which we practiced in, which was one of the lobbies of like the buildings. And we pretty much threw like $2-3 classes. And what we really wanted to emphasize was giving people opportunities to get teaching reps in. And especially at the time, there was one thing that we really saw was that like the same teachers would get recycled over and over and over, which makes sense. Like especially if you're trying to make money, you want to get people who are reputable and people who are going to pop out to class. But it didn't really leave much room for aspiring choreographers to share their stuff. So that was kind of like how that came to be.
Dope.
So yeah, we started with that. Started just filming stuff on our phones, but eventually we started wanting to like, you know, up our production a little bit, make it more presentable. So kind of just like took my money. What did I buy? I bought an A6000 and a gimbal. What was it? The Zhiyun Crane, the first one?
Oh, you mean the one that... Oh, no, wait. Did I buy mine from you or Justin?
I think you bought it for me.
For you, right?
Yeah. Because I remember, I think we traded it at like a gig, too.
It was probably a Pearl. Or like,
at Hom or something.
At Hom, yeah. That's exactly.
So, yeah. No idea what I was fucking doing. But I kind of just held it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I kind of fell back into love with like the action of it. And then, kind of just snowballed into like doing dance videos, doing events, and then I started branching off into non-dance work, and now I like work in video. So it's been a pretty cool 6-7 years. Since then.
That's awesome to just like pick it up and be like, well, this is cool. Like,
Tonio, YouTube University.
Yo, deadass.
YouTube University,
Like to the point where like still at a gig, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot how to do this, and then I just go on YouTube real quick.
Yeah, I'll definitely give props to like MJ, because MJ was the first person to ever like, it was Edson's big ass project, Lady, and I was like,
the Lady project.
What's a call sheet? What's this? And I was like, I was completely oblivious to like roles and how things operated and working with a team, and like I still take a lot of those things with me today. So props to you.
Oh yeah.
Shout out and then like shout outs to like Ajay, who was part of Community Artistry, and Ant King, because they were kind of like our community's like videographers at the time. So whenever I would have a question, I'd be like going to them, and I've probably asked them so many questions, but they definitely helped me like, along the way too. So,
but no, obviously you did your thing, and then also again, like I don't know, I feel like you just have like such like reverence for things that like you're passionate about. So like to get to the point where you just did the dance media workshop, which that looked really cool.
Yeah, it was an experience, man. Like I definitely, just personally, I felt hectic like the entire time. It felt like I was teaching for the very first time, because I've been in a ton of workshops and in a ton of classrooms, but specifically for dance, but not dancing and literally just talking the entire time was very foreign territory for me. So I definitely felt a little scatterbrained with like where I went, but I tried to stay like keyed in. But I think more than anything, I think just the fact that I had a great response of people who are actually interested in it was way more fulfilling than like how I performed. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But it's something that like I've been thinking about for a while. Like I think, selfishly, I just want to see our community creating more again. Because I don't know about y'all, but like growing up in the late 2000s, early 2010s, that was like the boom of the YouTube era. And so like dancers would come out with concept videos, and I mean a lot of the ideas were like just rehashed and nothing crazy, but the fact that people were intentional about like, okay, this is a piece that I'm going to create, wrap around in like a very nice presentation, and then share it with the world. You know what I mean?
And like you said, there was like an abundance of it.
There was an abundance of it, and I would rather have that than what it is now. To be honest, now it's like I'll see a concept video once every couple of weeks, and everything else, everything else is just a class video. Or, you know, I don't even want to call it a concept video, but you do your choreo with your phone mounted somewhere. It's just a dance video. You know what I mean? It's a TikTok,
No, So, are you? I don't know. Like, where's your brain with that? If like, you had like unlimited time, unlimited budget, you know, like what are you into wanting to make that sort of content now, like yourself?
To be honest, another reason why I kind of wanted to do this is because I don't want to say step away from doing dance content. Like I still love it, and I'll take on dance jobs for friends or people who I know have like a cool vision in mind. But I want the rest of the community to feel empowered to just like do it themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's way too many talented people in our community that can do more than just dance.
Honestly.
That have the vision. They might just not have like the technical know-how to like execute it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'm not that I want to step away from it forever, but like I'd love to see more videographers in this realm.
Just to see like what can or who can fill that gap.
Exactly. Yeah.
See it as, you know, something new. That's another thing too. I'm curious to see how this generation views media and the content, and like how different it would look. Because now that, you know, a lot of the stuff from the early 2000s is considered like throwback and is like being sampled and stuff. I wonder what the twist on that would be, you know, or like during like the Ian Eastwood era of like concept videos, like, well, how is that different now? Which I feel like it's weird because the technology for it has gotten way more sophisticated.
It's insane, yo.
But the concepts have simplified.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like,
it's funny you say that because I think you can kind of say that
but
you can kind of say the same shit about dance too. People are grooving again. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are like actually like learning styles again.
Yeah.
You could make a fire ass piece that's literally just like them bouncing and people would fucking go nuts. But if you did that in 2017, people would be like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. I was actually just talking to Paco when we were watching old like choreo cookies and like company videos.
Yes.
And
those are the two.
You could see that distinct moment. It was like 2012, 2013, right? From then until maybe 2017 and 2018, choreo just got insanely intricate. It got super fucking athletic, and it just became almost like information overload to the point where like you can't even like appreciate a moment that's happening in the choreo because they've already done 5 more moves after that. So I think I don't want to say everyone, because I think some people are still on that tip, or that might be their like preferred way of moving. But I think a lot of the people, especially these young kids growing up now, are really like just dancing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. No, for sure. I think I've spoken about that with multiple people now, like where there was that clear point, like you said, the two exact names, Cookies and the company, where it's like they brought that more lyrical style of hip hop and stuff. But yeah, now I feel like street dance is back, bigger than it's been in a long time.
Absolutely.
Like, for something like Light Feet to just be what it is now from its inception. But again, like back to the technology, it's like, the internet. Like now everyone can see what everyone's like doing everywhere else.
The barrier to entry is so small now. And like you can literally make the best content literally from your phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you really don't need to invest in a shit ton of gear. You know what I mean? You can create beautiful things. It's just a matter of being intentional with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I think like, and maybe this is because of how the industry is changing, but like people are popping off with less effort. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's more about volume now rather than like depth of content, which I think is what's most disheartening about like everything that's happening.
Yeah.
You could literally like pour your heart and soul into, you know, a 3-minute, you know, creative masterpiece, and that might get 100 views. But you might do a TikTok where you're not even like dancing. You might just be doing like a little bit of whatever the fuck, and you can get like viral for that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you could be doing someone else's choreo, which is what TikTok is.
It's covers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, all right, my shit talking shit. Don't call yourself a creator if you're not actually doing your own choreo. Because if you're just doing other people's choreo, you're not a creator, bro.
No. You're a cover artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Write your own lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. But there's always a struggle between what's the best and what's the most popular.
Right.
So that's part of the struggle. But
It's wild if you think about it too, because like, I think where dance can live is either in person, like on a stage, or, you know, on video.
yeah,
But then when you think about that, it's like, how do people consume video nowadays?
quickly.
Quickly. That's the best way to put it, yo. They consume it quickly, and it has to live on a social app.
Yeah.
If it's not, nobody's gonna watch it. Nobody's gonna go to your website to watch your video.
Yeah, like your link, your YouTube link could be in the bio
Unfortunately.
all you want, but
Exactly.
not many people are going.
If it's
that
not on
far.
Instagram, if it's not on
Yeah.
TikTok, people are unfortunately not
Yeah.
gonna see it.
But then see, that's where like the cream should rise to the top though, because if as an actual creator,
Yeah.
you know, you're understanding those terms, it's like, all right, fuck, I'm gonna make this for Instagram.
Right.
It has to be a reel. So that means it has to be 16 by 9. Like, then it forces you to be more mindful of, like,
Oh, yeah.
if I'm going to put this on this platform, I want to make it look the best that it can.
Right.
Which, again, one would hope
Exactly.
that would be the outcome.
Yeah. So
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's too easy to use.
it is. It's too easy to
Anybody
use.
could do it. And
Some of those TikTok effects, bro, that used to take us like 2 hours to do in After Effects, are literally like live now. If you want 4 more of yourself in the back, just click that filter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know how much work we did to get like 8 Vinnies in one
Oh
video?
yeah, I remember that video, dude. I was blown away when you showed me that. Oh my god.
Fucking changing into back and forth between outfits. And
Yeah.
and now it's just I'm gonna put this effect. I'm gonna use this music.
Right. Yeah.
Not have to worry about copyright. It's too easy.
It's too easy.
But again, listen, if you want to create, if you want to call yourself a creator, here's here's a perfect opportunity
Yeah.
to use everything at your disposal, but like be there with the intent to
Exactly.
do it as best as possible.
Absolutely. And it's not so. All right, he's kind of just another side, but like it's not just intent to do it, but it's like, what is your intention for creating this said piece? You're just trying to show off? You trying to get booked? Are you trying to tell a story? Are you trying to draw emotion out of someone?
Yeah.
I think those are other things that like a lot of creators can start thinking about, because if you understand what your end goal is, like that can drive how you create your content as well. And like, not saying that a class video can't invoke a feeling, but like, think about how many more people you could touch if you take the piece that you did in that class video and you fleshed it out into a concept.
Right.
You know?
Go that much further.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, yeah. And like you said, even a simple class video, you know, can inspire, but there has to be that intention in the class.
Right.
And I think people can see through that even just watching the video.
yeah.
It's like, you know, the class
absolutely.
videos that were like an actual class and the ones that were just a choreo piece.
Also, I'm gonna talk more shit again.
Go ahead.
If you throw a 2-hour class, don't be teaching for an hour and then just doing groups for an hour. That's some bullshit.
That's OD groups for an hour.
I've been to like numerous classes where it's been like that, and I was like, I'm not coming back. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like,
I've never
all
seen
right,
that.
let's say it's groups for an hour, but you're actually doing your big groups, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if it's like groups for an hour, all right, we're gonna have 13 select groups. Stop. Stop.
It's like
Oh, I fucking hate that.
there's a Key and Peele sketch about like being at the airport
Yeah.
and calling groups.
Yeah.
I always think about that with like dance classes. Like there's certain classes where it gets to the point they're like, all right, all the boys, all right, all the girls. All right, now everyone wearing a flannel shirt. All right, now everyone with a hat. Like, it's like, bro, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Like I understand like giving people chances to dance repeatedly. That's great.
Yeah.
But dude, there's so many classes where you can absolutely feel the intention of not only the teacher, but like some of the people taking class. They just want to get filmed. They want to look good for that video. But I'm like, yo, instead of trying to look good doing someone else's choreo, why don't you just like make your own shit, you know?
Might as well. If all you want to do is be on camera, you walk around with a camera.
Exactly.
Just film yourself.
It's just another thing that I came up with. It's like, I know a lot of people might not have the intention to be choreographers. So if you're just trying to be a performer, that's fine. But I know there are people out there, especially in our dance community, that have the capability and the talent to be movement directors. And in order to be a movement director, you gotta fucking direct something. So, like, I don't know. I just want people to like kind of expand their ceiling of like what's possible with dance.
Yeah.
And like, even if it's not that in that direction, there's so many things that you can do than just being a class taker, you know? So
Totally. Well, I mean, I feel more enlightened now after this. Oh, anything else you wanna let people know? Any final words?
yeah, man. I can go on, but I'll keep this brief. But I think being self-aware of where dance is in your life is super important, and having intention, but also having the flexibility to understand that just like life, things may not pan out as you planned is, you know, extremely powerful. Like, my dance trajectory has been extremely unexpected, and for a lot of it, I've put myself in shitty situations, and on the other side of it, I've been blessed, you know, in having some of the most unforgettable experiences. There's going to be your ups and downs. Like, it's never like a straight path. You're going to like go all over the place. But if you can like take the time, I know this is kind of cliche, but like if you can take the time to like listen to your feelings about how certain things, you know, bounce off of you, then you'll be able to enjoy yourself so much more in dance. And like, yeah, it's serious, but it's not that serious. Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's serious, but it's not that serious.
It's not that serious.
I totally get that. Yo, thank you for doing this, bro.
Absolutely, bro.
Be a mark. Yes. Let's
Thanks
go.
for having me.
Anything you want to shout out?
Oh, yeah.
Anything
Plug.
coming up? Yeah.
Oh, big shout out to some of like our like communities like leaders. I just want to give like 2 special shout outs, one to the Hive and one to Bodega, because I think like they're the last bastions of our dance community, at least in terms of like the choreo scene, and them being able to not only provide a space for current or returning dancers and like meshing scenes together, but also like bringing in this new generation of kids and, you know, getting them excited about dance is just pretty awesome to see. So big shout outs to them. And that's pretty much it. Shout outs to everybody that's dancing.
Yes. Shout out to the dancers.
Shout out to the dancers.
Sweet. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you,
Yeah, man.
Thanks, yeah.
That's cute.